Yeah, we're doing this again. Absorb elements. This spell allows you to absorb an elemental type spell, having its damage and storing it up to release on your next melee attack. The target will take an extra 1d6 of that elemental type upon a successful hit. This spell is amazing at lower levels. It gives my stamp of approval. Alarm. It's like a medieval magic security system. You set up alarms against an unwanted intrusion. Choose a door, window, archway, a fucking hole in the ground, you name it. As long as it's no bigger than a 20-foot cube, you can also choose who's allowed to be in your room without setting off the alarm like a teenage girl trying to keep her little brother from coming in because these are my friends and you're embarrassing me. Animal friendship. Ever make an encounter with a terrifying monster like a gorgon or griffin and think to yourself, man, I really hope the druid doesn't pull some crazy Pokemon bullshit? Well, buckle up, because this spell allows you to convince a beast that you mean no harm. Choose a beast that you can see within range. It must see and hear you. If the beast's intelligence is 4 or higher, the spell fails. Otherwise, the beast must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you until the spell's duration, which is a whole ass day, so have fun. Armor of Agaitis. This spell is so good if you upcast it. A protective magical force surrounds you, manifesting as spectral frost that covers your entire gear. You get 5 temporary hit points, and as long as you have these 5 temporary hit points, everybody who hits you with a melee attack takes 5 cold damage. For each level you upcast this spell, you gain 5 temporary hit points, and cold damage enemies take upon hitting you also increases by 5, for a maximum of 45 temporary hit points and cold damage each hit with a 9th level spell slot. And thanks to pack magic that all warlocks get, every time you cast this spell, it will be at max level. Arms of Hadar. You invoke the power of Hadar, the Dark Hunger. Tendrils of dark energy erupt from you and batter all creatures within 10 feet of you. Each creature in that area must succeed a strength saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 2d6 necrotic damage and can't take reactions until its next turn. This spell is actually very good for intimidation. Who wouldn't be terrified when you summon black demon arms to attack them? Might be able to use it for more than just damage, who knows. Bane. Up to 3 creatures of your choice that you can see within range must make charisma saving throws. Whenever the target fails its saving throw or makes an attack roll or saving throw before the spell ends, the target must roll a d4 and subtract the number rolled from the attack roll or saving throw. Beast Bond. You establish a telepathic link between you and a beast that is friendly towards you or charmed by you. The spell fails if the beast's intelligence is 4 or higher. Until the spell ends, you can pretty much communicate with them telepathically, tell them to go places, do things for you, anything. This spell really works in tandem with the spell Animal Friendship, since it opens up more options that you can do with the creature. Bless. I cannot tell you how many times this spell is coming in clutch in my games. You can bless up to 3 creatures of your choice within range. Whenever the target makes an attack roll or saving throw before the spell ends, the target can roll a d4 and add that number rolled to the attack roll or saving throw. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I've literally seen people kill to get a cleric to bless them, so at lower levels, take this spell. It's almost a necessity. Burning Hands. Your hands become a fucking flamethrower. Each creature in a 15-foot cone must succeed a dexterity saving throw, or the creature takes 3d6 fire damage on a failed save, or have as much damage on a successful one. Catapult. This is one of my personal favorites. Choose one object that weighs 1 to 5 pounds within range that isn't being worn or carried. The object will then fly in a straight line up to 90 feet in the direction of your choice before falling to the ground. If you aim this object at a creature, then they have to make a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, they take 3d8 bludgeoning damage. People may be wondering why I love this spell so much. And to those people, I ask you this. Have you ever picked up an enemy's best friend's corpse and thrown it at them at 60 miles an hour? I've never seen such pure terror and disgust in my entire life. Cause fear. Wisdom saving throw, and then you cause fear. Ceremony. You perform one of several religious ceremonies. When you cast this spell, you'll choose one of the following ceremonies, the target of which must be within 10 feet of you through the entire hour-long casting time. These ceremonies include things like blessing water, returning someone's alignment to normal if tampered with, keeping a dead body from becoming undead, and even performing a marriage ritual which gives a number of benefits to the bride and groom. Chaos Bolt. You hurl a warbly mass of chaotic energy at one creature within range. This spell has a really cool mechanic because the damage type of the spell is determined by the damage roll. If the spell hits, you roll 2d8 plus 1d6. You choose one of those d8s to determine what the elemental damage will be. 1 is acid damage, 2 is cold damage, 3 is fire damage, 4 is force damage, 5 is lightning, 6 is poison, 7 is psychic, and 8 is thunder. If you roll the same number on both d8s, then the chaotic energy leaps from one target to a different creature of your choice within 30 feet of it. And this can just keep going. If you keep rolling the same number somehow, then it can technically keep jumping forever. Charm Person. Wisdom saving throw, and then you charm a person. Chromatic Orb. Similar to Chaos Bolt, except you're allowed to choose the damage type. You hurl a 4-inch diameter sphere of energy at a creature you can see within range. If the attack hits, the creature takes 3d8 damage of the type you choose. Color Spray. A dazzling array of flashing colored lights spring from your hand. Roll 60-10. The total is how many hit points of creatures the spell can affect. The range is a 15-foot cone, starting with the creature that has the lowest hit points. Each creature affected by this spell is blinded until the end of your next turn. Command. You speak a one-word command to a creature you can see within range. The target must succeed a wisdom saving throw or follow the command on its next turn. A lot of what happens with this spell is entirely up to the DM, but it's a really cool flavor and roleplay spell, so keep it in your arsenal if you really like that stuff. Compelled Duel. You attempt to compel a creature into a duel. One creature that you can see within range must make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is drawn to you, compelled by your divine demand. For the duration, it has disadvantage on attack rolls against creatures other than you, and must make a wisdom saving throw each time it attempts to move to a space that is more than 30 feet away from you. Comprehend languages. For the duration, you understand the literal meaning of any spoken language that you hear. You also understand the written language that you see, but you must be touching the surface on which the words are written. In other words, you become one of those child prodigies who know like 3 languages by the time they're in 5th grade, and nobody cares, Elizabeth. I'm just trying to eat my goddamn Lunchable. Create or destroy water. Come here, I have something mind-blowing to tell you right now. Yeah, you either create or destroy water. Yeah, it's crazy. Cure Wounds is a very famous first-level spell. A creature you touch or gains a number of hit points equal to 1d8 plus your spellcasting ability modifier, aka the spell that has saved my ass a billion times. Detect good and evil. For the duration, you know if there is an aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, fiend, or undead within 30 feet of you, as well as where that creature is located. So if you and your party know exactly what enemy you're looking for, this spell is super useful because you can find them really easily. This spell also works for objects as well. Detect Magic, the spell that will tell you if that gem you found in the dungeon is worth 10 gold or 200 gold. For the duration, you sense a presence of magic within 30 feet of you. If you sense magic in this way, you can use your action to see a faint aura around any visible creature or object in the area that bears magic. And you learn its school of magic, if any. Detect Poison and Disease. This spell doesn't have a ton of uses, but for the duration you can sense the presence and location of poisons, poisoned creatures, and diseases within 30 feet of you. You also identify the kind of poison, poisonous creature, and disease in each case. Disguise Self, the bread and butter of D&D espionage. For 1 hour, you can make yourself, including armor, weapons, and other belongings on your person, look different until the spell ends, or you use an action to dismiss it. You cannot change your body type, however, so you must adopt a form that has the same basic arrangement of your limbs. Other than that, sky's the limit. Go crazy. Dissonant Whispers. You whisper a sweet melody to a creature of your choice that you can see within range, racking it with terrible pain. Target must succeed a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 3d6 psychic damage. Additionally, if it fails that wisdom saving throw, it must use its reaction, if it's available, to move as far as its speed allows away from you. As if 5 minutes ago you ate 30 shit sandwiches and they were standing downwind. Distort Value. This spell lasts for 8 hours, and you can cast this spell on an object no more than 1 foot on a side, doubling the object's perceived value by polishing it up a little bit or adding a few gems in certain areas, or reducing its perceived value by half with the help of illusory scratches, dents, and other unsightly features. Be careful though, anybody can see through this illusion if they make an investigation check above your spell save DC. Divine Favor. This is a bonus action spell. Its concentration up to 1 minute, and until the spell ends, your sword has the power of Jesus Christ and all his disciples, giving your melee attacks an extra 1d4 radiant damage on a hit. Earth Tremor. You cause a tremor in the ground in a 10-foot radius. Each creature other than you in that area must succeed a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 1d6 bludgeoning damage and is knocked prone. And, best part, if the ground in that area is loose earth or stone, it becomes difficult terrain until cleared. Very useful if I do say so myself. Ensnaring Strike. This is a bonus action spell, concentration up to 1 minute. The next time you hit a creature with a weapon attack before this spell ends, a mass of thorny vines at the point of impact will appear, and the target must succeed a strength saving throw or be restrained by magical vines until the spell ends. If the target succeeds to save, the vines shrivel away. Also, as long as the spell is still activated, the target takes 1d6 piercing damage at the start of each of its turns. Very useful. Entangle. Keeping with the theme of the last spell, grasping weeds and vines sprout up from the ground in a 20-foot square starting from a point within range. For the duration, these plants turn the ground into difficult terrain. If a target is in the area where you cast the spell, they must succeed a strength saving throw or be restrained by the entangling plants until the spell ends. Expeditious Retreat. This is a concentration spell up to 10 minutes, and it allows you to move at an incredible pace. When you cast this spell, and then as a bonus action on each of your turns until the spell ends, you can take the dash action. Fairy Fire. Concentration up to 1 minute. Each object in a 20-foot cube within range is outlined in blue, green, or violet light of your choice. Until the spell ends, every creature within the area who fails the dexterity saving throw will be outlined in light, and any attack roll against that creature has advantage. False Life. Using your necromantic powers, you can gain 1d4 plus 4 temporary hit points for the duration. Featherfall. An extremely useful spell. It lasts for 1 minute and you can choose up to 5 falling creatures within range. A falling creature's rate of descent slows to 60 feet per round until the spell ends. If the creature lands before the spell ends, it takes no falling damage and can land on its feet. Once it touches the ground, the spell ends for that creature. Find Familiar. Using this ability, you can summon the service of a familiar, a spirit that takes animal form. Your familiar acts independently of you, but it always obeys your commands. In combat, it rows its own initiative and acts on its own turn. A familiar cannot attack, but it can take other actions as normal. When it drops to 0 hit points, it disappears, leaving behind no physical form, and it reappears after you cast the spell again. You gain a lot of benefits to having your familiar near you. If you want to see all of them, I recommend going to the wiki. Your familiar can take on a few forms, like a bat, cat, crab, frog, toad, hawk, lizard, octopus, owl, poisonous snake, fish, quipper, rat, raisin, seahorse, spider, or weasel. So many options. Fog Cloud. You create a 20-foot radius sphere of fog centered at a point within range. The sphere spreads around corners, and its area is heavily obscured. It lasts for the duration until a wind of moderate or greater speed, at least 10 miles per hour, disperses it. Which is so specific, so like, pretty much if the DM doesn't want you to use this spell, you don't use this spell. Gift of Alacrity. This one's super simple. You touch a willing creature, and for the duration, the target can add a 1d8 to its initiative roll. It's an okay spell. It's pretty decent for support. Good Berry. Up to 10 berries appear in your hand and are infused with magic for the duration. A creature can use its action to eat 1 berry. Eating a berry restores 1 hit point, and the berry provides enough nourishment to sustain a creature for 1 day. That may not sound very powerful, but if you think about it, if you're surviving in the wild in D&D, it pretty much eliminates every possible need you would have to go hunting, since all you need to do is cast the spell and you can get sustained for an entire day. There's a really awesome video on YouTube by Zebashu who explains exactly how this spell can be really overpowered and how to balance it if you want to use it in your campaign. Grease. One of the most hilarious spells in this entire game. A slick of grease covers the ground in a 10-foot square centered on a point within range, and it turns it into difficult terrain. When the grease appears, each creature standing in that area must succeed a dexterity saving throw or fall prone, so they literally just slip on a pile of grease. Guiding Bolt. Make a ranged spell attack against a target. On a hit, the target takes 46 radiant damage, and on the next attack roll made against that target, you get advantage, thanks to the beautiful mythical dim light glittering on the target after the attack is made. Hail of Thorns. The next time you hit a creature with a ranged weapon attack before the spell ends, this spell creates a rain of thorns that sprouts from your ranged weapon or ammunition. In addition to the normal effect of the attack, the target of the attack and creature within 5 feet must make a dexterity saving throw. A creature takes 1d10 piercing damage on a failed save and half as much damage on a successful one. Healing Word. A creature of your choice that you can see within range regains hit points equal to 1d4 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. This spell has no effect on undead or constructs. Hellish Rebuke. You point your finger at a creature that damaged you and is momentarily surrounded by hellish flames. The creature must make a dexterity saving throw. It takes 2d10 fire damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. Heroism. A willing creature you touch is imbued with bravery. Until the spell ends, the creature is immune to being frightened and gains temporary hit points equal to your spellcasting ability modifier. And it does this at the start of each of its turns. When the spell ends, the target loses any remaining temporary hit points from the spell. Hex. You place a curse on a creature that you can see within range. Until the spell ends, you deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage to the target whenever you hit it with an attack. Also, choose one ability when you cast the spell. The target has disadvantage on that ability check made with the chosen ability. If the target drops to 0 hit points before the spell ends, you can use a bonus action to switch the curse to a new creature. Fun fact, a remove curse cast on the target ends the spell early. Hunter's Mark. You choose a creature you can see within range and mystically mark it with your quarry. Until the spell ends, you deal an extra 1d6 damage to the target whenever you hit it with a weapon attack. And you have advantage on any perception or survival check you make to find it. If the target drops to 0 hit points before the spell ends, you can use your bonus action to switch it to a new creature. Ice Knife. You create a shard of ice and fling it at one creature within range. You make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d10 piercing damage. Hit or miss, the shard then explodes. The target and each creature within 5 feet of the point where the ice exploded must succeed a dexterity saving throw or take 2d6 cold damage. Identify. You choose one object that you must touch for 1 minute while casting this spell. If it is a magic item or some other magic imbued object, you learn its properties and how to use them, whether it requires attunement to use or how many charges it has, if any. You also learn whether any spells are affecting the item and what they are. If the item was created by a spell, you learn which spell created it. You can also do this with creatures as well. Illusory script. You write on parchment paper or any other suitable writing material and imbue it with the potent illusion that lasts for the duration. To you and any creature you designate when you cast this spell, the writing appears to be normal, written in your hand, and conveys whatever meaning you intended when you first wrote the text. To all others, however, the writing appears as if it was written in an unknown or magical script that is unintelligible. Alternatively, you can cause the writing to appear to be an entirely different message, written in a different hand and/or language, though the language must be one you know. Inflict wounds. This one is the edgy spell. You make a melee spell attack against a creature you can reach. On a hit, the target takes 3d10 necrotic damage, opening gashes on their skin, seemingly out of nowhere. Jim's Magic Missile. Not to be confused with Magic Missile, this one is Jim's. You create 3 twisting, glowing darts of magical force. Each dart targets a creature of your choice that you can see within range. Make a ranged spell attack for each missile. On a hit, the missile deals 2d4 force damage to its target. If the attack roll scores a critical hit, then the target of that missile takes 5d4 force damage, instead of you rolling damage twice for a critical hit. If any attack roll for any missile is 1, all of them miss and their targets blow up in your face, dealing 1 force damage per missile to you. Jump. You touch a creature and the creature's jump distance is tripled until the spell ends. Long Strider. You touch a creature and the target's speed is increased by 10 feet until the spell ends. Mage Armor, a caster's bread and butter. You touch a willing creature who isn't wearing armor and a protective magical force surrounds it until the spell ends. The target's base AC becomes 13 plus its dexterity modifier, and the spell ends if the target dons armor or you dismiss it with the spell as an action. Magic Missile. Not Jim's this time. You create 3 glowing darts of magical force. Sound familiar? Each dart hits a creature of your choice that you can see within range. A dart deals 1d4 plus 4 force damage to its target. The difference between this and Jim's Magic Missile is obviously you don't have to roll an attack roll. This spell will hit no matter what, so you don't need to worry about it. Magnify Gravity. The gravity in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on a point you can see within range increases for a moment. Each creature in that sphere on a turn when you cast the spell must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 2d8 force damage and its speed is halved until the spell ends on the next turn. On a successful save, a creature takes half as much damage and suffers no reduction in speed. Protection from good and evil. Until the spell ends, one willing creature you touch is protected against certain types of creatures: aberrations, celestials, elemental, fae, fiends, and undead. The protection grants several benefits. Creatures of those type have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target cannot be charmed, frightened, or possessed by them, and if the target is already charmed, frightened, or possessed by such a creature, the target has advantage on any new saving throw against the relevant effect. Purify food and drink. All non-magical food and drink within 5-foot radius sphere centered on that point of your choice within range is purified and rendered free of poison and disease. In other words, you can drink your own piss! Ray of Sickness. A ray of sickeningly greenish energy lashes out towards a creature within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 2d8 poison damage and must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, it is also poisoned until the end of your next turn. Sanctuary. You ward a creature within range against an attack. Until the spell ends, any creature who targets the warded creature with an attack or harmful spell must first make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature must choose a new target or lose the attack or spell. The spell, however, does not protect a warded creature from area of effect spells such as an explosion from a fireball. Searing Smite. The next time you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack during the spell's duration, your weapon flares with white-hot intensity, and the attack deals an extra 1d6 fire damage to the target and causes the target to ignite in flames. At the start of each of its turns until the spell ends, the target must make a Constitution saving throw. On a successful save, the spell ends if the target or creature within 5 feet of it uses an action to put out the flames, or if some other effect douses the flames, such as a target being submerged in water. Shield, or as other people would call it, it one of the most powerful first level spells. An invisible barrier of magic force appears and protects you. Until the start of your next turn, you have a +5 bonus to your AC, including against the triggering attack, and you take no damage from magic missile. This is such a good spell. If you're new to D&D and you're playing a caster, take this spell. It's almost necessary. Shield of Faith. A shimmering field appears and surrounds a creature of your choice within range, granting it a +2 bonus to its AC for the duration. Silent Image. You create an image of an object, creature, or some other visual phenomenon that is no larger than a 15-foot cube. The image appears at a spot within range and lasts for the duration. The image is purely visual and isn't accompanied by sound, smell, or any sensory effects. You can also use your action to cause the image to move to any spot within range. Fun fact, if you pair this spell with prestidigitation, you can make it make a sound. Just to make it a little more convincing. Snare. While you cast this spell, you use the cord of a rope to create a circle with a 5-foot radius on a flat surface within your reach. When you finish casting, the cord or rope disappears to become a magical trap. The trap is nearly invisible and requires a successful intelligence investigation check against your spell save DC to be found. The trap triggers when a small creature or larger moves into the area protected by the spell. The triggering creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or fall prone and be hoisted into the air until it hangs upside down 3 feet above the protected surface where it was restrained. Sleep. This spell sends creatures into a magical slumber. Roll 5d8. The total is how many hit points of a creature's this spell can affect. Creatures within 20 feet of a point you choose within range are affected in ascending order of their current hit points. Starting with the creature with the lowest hit points, each creature affected by the spell falls unconscious until the spell ends, and or takes damage, or someone uses an action to shake or slap the sleeper awake. Speak with animals. You gain the ability to comprehend and verbally communicate with beasts for the duration. The knowledge and awareness of many beasts is limited by their intelligence, but at minimum, beasts can give you information about nearby locations and monsters, including whether they can perceive or have perceived within the past day. You might be able to persuade a beast to perform a small favor for you at the DM's discretion. Silvery Barbs. You magically distract the triggering creature and turn its momentary uncertainty into encouragement for another creature. The triggering creature must then roll a d20 and use the lower roll on whatever move it used. You can also choose a creature and yourself to give advantage to for their next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw for 1 minute. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. A creature of your choice that you can see within range perceives everything as hilariously funny and falls into fits of laughter. The target must succeed a wisdom saving throw or fall prone, becoming incapacitated and unable to stand up for the duration. A creature with an intelligence score of 4 or less is not affected. Tenzer's Floating Disc. This spell creates a circular horizontal plane of force, 3 feet in diameter and 1 inch thick, that floats 3 feet above the ground in an unoccupied space of your choice that you can see within range. The disc remains for the duration and can hold up to 500 pounds. If more weight is placed on it, the spell ends and everything in the disc falls to the ground. And no, you cannot sit and fly on it. That is in the rules. Thunder's Smite. The first time you hit with a melee weapon attack during this spell's duration, your weapon rings with thunder that is audible within 300 feet of you. So be careful when using this spell because you'll alert a lot of enemies nearby. And the attack deals an extra 2d6 thunder damage to the target. Additionally, if the target is a creature, it must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed 10 feet away from you or knocked prone. Thunderwave. A wave of thunderous force sweeps out from you. Each creature in a 15-foot cube originating from you must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 2d8 thunder damage and is pushed 10 feet away from you. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage and isn't pushed. In addition, unsecured objects that are completely within the area of effect are automatically pushed 10 feet away from you by this spell's effect. And the spell emits a thunderous boom audible out about 300 feet. Unseen Servant. This spell creates an invisible, mindless, shapeless medium force that performs simple tasks at your command until the spell ends. The servant springs into existence in an unoccupied space on the ground within range. It has an AC of 10, 1 hit point, and a strength of 2, and can't attack. If it drops to 0 hit points, the spell ends. Once on each of your turns, as a bonus action, you can mentally command the servant to move up to 15 feet and interact with an object. The servant can perform simple tasks that human servants can do, such as fetch catching things, cleaning, mending, folding clothes, lighting fires, serving food, or pouring wine. Witch Bolt. A beam of crackling blue energy lances out towards a creature within range, forming a sustained arc of lightning between you and the target. Make a ranged spell attack against that creature. On a hit, the target takes 1d12 lightning damage. And on each of your turns for the duration, you can use your action to deal 1d12 lightning damage to the target automatically. This spell ends if you do anything else. The spell also ends if the target is outside the spell's range or it has total cover from you. Wrathful Smite. The next time you hit a melee weapon attack during the spell's duration, your attack deals an extra 1d6 psychic damage. Additionally, if the target is a creature, it must make a wisdom saving throw or be frightened of you until the spell ends. Zephyr Strike. You move like the wind. For the duration, your movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. In addition, the first time you make a weapon attack on your turn before the spell ends, you make an attack roll with advantage. And your speed is increased by 30 feet until the end of that turn. And that is every first level spell in D&D 5e with the exception of Unearthed Arcana. Oh my god, that was so much content to cover. If you are new to D&D, just keep in mind that not all these spells are available to every class. So just look at the wiki and see which one works for your class and what doesn't. Before we go, I just want to thank all of you for all the support on my videos. My channel has been growing like crazy, faster than I thought was possible. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much for the support. Please share this video if you really like it and subscribe if you want to see more. And that's pretty much it. See you guys later. Class dismissed.